When abuses and atrocities have occurred in wars past, the question is often asked, how can people, otherwise described as good and decent people, commit such bad acts? ABC News correspondent Jake Tapper takes a look back some 30-some-odd years for some answers.
It is comforting to tell ourselves that these were a nefarious few, that something is clearly wrong with them, that we would never do such a thing.
A small number of troops who acted in an illegal, improper manner.
Occasionally, you're going to have some bad apples.
This is an exceptional situation. It is not a pattern or a practice.
They don't represent America. They represent the actions of a few people.
The overwhelming majority of the people in this country are wonderful people.
It is nice to think the American people are a wonderful people, but does that mean the alleged perpetrators of the Abu Ghraib abuse are not wonderful? Not typical Americans? Is looking at their faces to look into the face of evil? Or is it to look into the faces of your friends and family?
There'll be constant surveillance.
33 years ago at Stanford University, psychologist Phil Zimbardo wanted to explore just what normal people are capable of, given certain circumstances and power over other human beings.
So what we did in our study is take good boys who happened to be in the Bay Area in the summer of August 1971, and we put them in an evil place, a prison-like place.
Volunteers judged normal and healthy were randomly divided into guards and prisoners and taken to a makeshift prison in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Department.
Every day after that second day, the level of aggression of the guards escalated. So each day's aggression was the scaffold on which they would think of more and more perverted, sadistically creative things to do to show that they had power.
The most sadistic behavior was not caught on film. Soon prisoners were in tears. One was forced to clean out a toilet with his bare hands. And then,
as in the Iraqi prison, what we saw over a very short period of time is that guards began to strip prisoners naked, make fun of them, do things to humiliate them, confuse them, but they would have the prisoners simulating sodomy with the other prisoners. And that was one of the last things that happened. In fact, when we saw that on the videotape the next day, that's when we decided, this has gone too far.
We asked Professor Zimbardo to speculate as to what would have happened if, instead of being called off after 6 days, the Stanford prison experiment had gone on for 6 months or longer.
I hate to think of the answer. My sense is that we were seeing a trajectory of increasing sadism, increasing hostility. I could imagine a very similar situation in our prison as in the Iraqi prison.
Right now it is unclear, however, how much the alleged abuse at Abu Ghraib was condoned, encouraged, or ordered by the superior officers. According to Brigadier General Janice Karpinski, the military police under her command were following orders from a separate intelligence unit.
They were instructed to do things that were perhaps routine techniques in interrogation, and it worked so well for 6, they said do it for 20.
So if these were soldiers carrying out orders, one way or another, what do we make of that? 43 years ago, the late Yale psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a study on following orders. Or in his words, how much pain an ordinary citizen would inflict on another person simply because he was ordered to.
No, that's all.
Subjects, not realizing they in fact were the guinea pigs, were told to administer electric shocks to a patient in the next room, one pretending to be receiving increasingly painful electric voltage.
Incorrect. You'll now get a shock of 75 volts.
Over and over, they were told to keep administering the painful jolts.
That is incorrect. This one will be 195 volts. The correct one. Let me out of here.
As the voltage increased, the subject screamed, feigning agony.
This will be at 330.
More than 60% of those tested obeyed the orders all the way to the end.
Continue, please.
450 volts administered 3 times to a subject supposedly in such pain he was no longer even responding. Concluded Milgram, ordinary people, simply doing their jobs and without any particular hostility on their part, can become agents in a terrible destructive process, even when the destructive effects of their work become patently clear, and they are asked to carry out actions incompatible with fundamental standards of morality.
We have to judge the individuals who committed the horrible deeds, but we can't judge them through the lens of saying, I would never have done that. Again, because the Milgram experiments show that under orders, most of us will do that. What Stanley Milgram would have to say is that these soldiers and contractors are extraordinarily ordinary.
Ordinary, or what was once referred to by the famous writer Hannah Arendt as the banality of evil. Arendt was not calling evil banal or commonplace. She was referring to the perpetrators, what very normal, healthy, stable people are capable of doing, given certain circumstances and great power over other human beings. I'm Jake Tapper for Nightline in Washington.